Humans aren't born out of laying around on their asses. We've been born out of conquering a world. We're the dominant species. We built all this. We're powerful, and we're beautiful, and we're ready to build the next level of civilization in God's plan. But you must stop bowing to those who want to make you a victim. You must become the victor. If you love God and you want to build a pro-human future, then you are an enemy of the New World Order and Satanism. They want us shut down because we have the Spirit. I'm jacked into the source. I know the secret, and I want to see you empowered. But you have to believe in yourself first. This is the truth, and everyone knows it.
The 98th Emperor of the Holy Britannian Empire.
So, ladies and gentlemen, today I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. I'm going to be making a video that is a direct response to Sargon of Akkad, Carl Benjamin. This is my perspective as an American. And I want to explain this because it seems that Carl doesn't understand, and I don't blame him. He's not from here. And he's currently going through his own things in his own country. So I want to explain this. Right now, Carl is being very critical of Trump and America and his tone, and he has every right to do so. We are not the UK. We are not going to put people in prison for speech offenses and basically having an opinion, that disagrees with whatever the orthodoxy is of the current regime in power. But Sargon completely misread the room, and he doesn't understand the current political climate of the United States. He watches things from overseas, but he doesn't understand. And I don't blame him. Things have shifted very, very quickly. So, Sargon of Akkad put out a statement, in fact, multiple statements, about, Canada, Europe, the United States. Trump's made some mistakes. He's being needlessly antagonistic and, trying to sort of tone police and trying to say, well, and maybe if you were more subservient to these Euro trash leaders and these, tin pot dictators, maybe if you were just to get on your knees and supplicate to them. I'm not saying that that's what he's actually saying. I'm being hyperbolic for the sake of, parody. But the whole purpose of this sort of statement is maybe you should tone it down. And my response to that as an American is no, this is what I voted for. And I want to read the statement that I wrote to Sargon in good faith, totally good faith. I said, I think, Sargon, you are going to encounter a different response to this than even 5 years ago. America first means Americans first. If Euro trash Brits and Canadians are upset and want to trash the US even more than they already did, then the response is not going to be to submit to the tone policing or to prostrate ourselves, but instead to tell them that they can shove it up their ass. I think that's a pretty reasonable stance. I think that's a pretty reasonable articulation of the sentiment of Americans in America right now, currently. These are the most ridiculous, ungrateful, and arrogant people in the world. America has paid for and defended them for decades. This is over, or that is over. Now, we see that they were never our allies, just a bunch of opportunistic grifters. With friends like them, who needs enemies? And that is absolutely true. You see, Trump put reciprocal tariffs. It's not like Trump went out and said, we're going to put onerous tariffs on Canada out of nowhere. That, these are completely ridiculous, unfounded tariffs. No, Trump said, okay, you've been tariffing us at an absolutely eye-watering, astronomical rate. So we're going to put tariffs back on you that are equal to the tariffs that you're putting on us. Was Canada's response, oh, okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to lower tariffs on you so that you lower tariffs on us so that we have a more equal trading relationship and everyone does well. No. Canada responded with, how dare you stop subsidizing us? How dare you stop subsidizing us? How dare you basically take that which you've been giving us and say, okay, well, now you have to give something back. And to Sargon, I would explain it like this. Imagine that you had a roommate or a flatmate, as you Brits say. Imagine you had a flatmate and you've been paying 90% of their bill. In fact, they couldn't live without you paying 90% of the rent. They couldn't live without it. Their entire economy, his entire world was predicated on you paying the lion's share of the rent. But let's say that you fall on, some pretty hard financial times yourself. And you have a conversation, and it's a tough conversation. It's like, look, I can't keep paying this 90-10 divide that we have. You're going to have to pay 50% of the rent. We're going to have to go in equal. And his response to you, and keep in mind, you've been paying 90%. You have put them on your back. And their response is to threaten you, to say, not only am I not going to work with you, but you're my enemy now. Well, Sargon, it is mind-bendingly stupid. It is retarded what you're saying here. And I'll explain. Trump put reciprocal tariffs on China, on other countries, and I think it was Thailand that responded to Trump's reciprocal tariffs. I could be wrong. I don't know if it was exactly Thailand. But one of the countries said, oh, okay, well, we're going to lower the tariffs because we don't want you to tariff us. We're not going to tariff you. And that worked out just fine. But let me see if I can't pull this up. I had a video that I did. Yeah. Here it is. We're going to react to one of my videos. And this was, we could talk about Mark Carney and his statements. But no, I actually want to go near the end. And I want to react to the Premier of Ontario, energy to the United States.
But I can assure you one thing. We're going to make sure that we inflict as much pain as possible to the American people without inflicting pain on the Canadian population.
Donald Trump would never say that. That's not what you say to an ally. That's not what you say to a friend. That's what you say to an enemy. And I got to tell you, Sargon, if anyone says this about my country and wants to hurt American people, that person is my enemy. That's the enemy of our country. So Trump is way more reserved than most Americans. Most Americans would take that as a declaration of war. But Trump is willing to be more magnanimous and say, hey, maybe we need to, keep things as they are, but cool it down a bit. This is also the guy that threatened to cut off energy to portions of the United States to see them suffer. These are not our friends. These are psychopaths. These are authoritarians. These are people under Justin Trudeau that froze the bank accounts of the truckers, amongst other things that are absolutely egregious, absolutely unconscionable. These are not our allies. And what you're doing is you're making an appeal to authority, the same type of appeal to authority that you reject in other people. Like when people make an appeal to the authority of the media, you say, well, there is no authority. Well, I reject that these people are our allies and friends and trading partners. They've been ripping us off. And the moment that we stop paying for them, subsidizing them, protecting them, and start putting our own people first, they start making actual, legitimate, real threats. So again, I say as an American, my response is not, oh, well, we need to go prostrate ourselves and we need to we need to bend the knee to this person. We need to make sure that people like him suffer. And I'm not talking physically. I'm not Hassan Piker here. I'm not in favor of terrorism, but financially, politically. This guy needs to come on his hands and knees and beg the American people for forgiveness. Beg them. He needs to make a video slobbering over himself. Oh, please forgive me. Because you threatened the American people. You did. Let me play that again. Energy to the United States.
Not, but I can assure you one thing. We're going to make sure that we inflict as much pain as possible to the American people without inflicting pain on the Canadian population.
All of this because of reciprocal tariffs. Now, Sargon, I understand that we're not from the same part of the country. We don't have the same sensibilities per se. But there is not a chance in hell that I would ever encourage Trump to tone down his rhetoric or to change anything about what he's doing. Trump has never called for the Canadian people to be harmed. No one has. The only thing that Americans want is to be treated fairly in the market. To not be ripped off for years and then to be despised for it. Like, these people are spoiled children. And guess what? Daddy is taking away the credit card. You're going to have to pay for college for yourself. And if that is unpalatable and unsavory to your British sensibilities, well then so be it. But the fact is, Sargon, you're wrong. You're not wrong about everything that you're saying, but you're wrong about your general sentiment and the way that you're coming across. You're just wrong. And I don't begrudge you that. You're not American. You wouldn't understand. You have your own problems to deal with. And guess what? Guess what? In the interest of fairness, the fairness and fairest and the fairness. If I were to talk about British politics, which I very, very rarely do, the only time I would talk about it is like a free speech violation, which I think I did a reaction to that video. I think I did a reaction to that video. Sorry about that. It was an emergency call. Yeah, so Sargon, my message to you is quite simple. You're not from here. If I were to talk about your politics, which would be about free speech, which the police officer coming into the house and talking about a speech offense, I would say that you would have every right to be like, well, you're not exactly right on this, or I think you're talking out your ass. You'd be every right. You'd have every right to come out and basically make a statement like, you don't know what you're talking about. And that's what I'm doing here. You don't know what you're talking about. You look at Trump across the sea as a foreign observer. We voted Trump for this very thing. The World Economic Order, the liberal economic order, whatever you want to call it. We have voted Trump to dismantle the bureaucracy and to punish the people that tried to destroy the world and destroy our culture. We also put Trump in charge to lower the price of eggs and, to sort of bring down inflation and to give America back its honor and dignity, which he's doing, having a little bit of fun while doing it because these people are so ridiculously evil. But the reality is that we have endured a whole bunch of grief for trying to help the world. We don't get appreciation. We don't get thanks for defending or being the first to send aid anywhere in the world. But we don't get any praise for our generosity and for our altruistic efforts. We don't get any praise for it. In fact, we get contempt for it. Because the moment that we ask for reciprocal tariffs, not imposing harsh penalties, but just reciprocal tariffs, this guy right here threatens American people. So I hope this helps to explain things. I don't want to delve too deep into it. I don't want to make this video too long, because otherwise there's even less of a possibility that Sargon would watch it. But I wanted to explain things from an American, that my position is, whether they're Euro trash or they're mother Canuckers in Canada or they're limey Brits, it doesn't matter to me. As an American, I think that what Trump is doing is absolutely right. And it's not that I can't take criticism or that, oh, you just don't want to hear what you don't want to hear. No, I've heard what I don't want to hear for years. We've all heard what we don't want to hear for years. We're accustomed to it. We've been accustomed to it for a very, very long time of hearing this sort of tone policing, like, oh, you really should back down. And no, I actually think Trump should double down. I think he should double down on everything. Because the world is so broken at this point that it's absolutely ridiculous to think that he should play by their rules. And, oh, well, somebody who's not paying attention, well, if they're not paying attention and they're stupid enough to vote for Democrats, or the Labor Party or the Liberal Party, if they're stupid enough to vote for them, there's nothing that I could say. There's no tone policing in the world. There's no changing of the story, changing of the narrative, or doing anything that would alter that, because they are genuinely so profoundly dumb at this point that I don't even think it bothers even consideration. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate it. Thanks for watching. Thanks for letting me vent this frustration. It is just a little bit of frustration. I actually like Sargon of Akkad. I think he does a pretty good job, but I think he's wrong about this. And he's wrong about this because he doesn't live here. He's not enveloped in the culture. Like, he sees news stories and he gets news stories, and so he is more attuned than, I would say, the average Canadian and the average Brit. But when it comes right down to it, he doesn't live here. And there's been a seismic shift in our culture, and Tim Pool explained this very briefly, but no, we're not going to play the decorum game anymore. These people are degenerate, bottom-feeding, subhuman freaks. And we're going to make fun of them. We're going to laugh at them. And they're going to continue to basically remove themselves from the conversation with their hysterical, radical behavior. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for watching. See you next time.